All right, good afternoon, everyone. We've got a great session ahead of us. It should already be on. You're good. So
Hello.
we're very grateful. Again, I would like to thank our lead Smart Stage sponsor, NICE, who has helped put together the wonderful agenda from yesterday, today, and wrapping up tomorrow. This is going to be a great session for educational purposes. You're going to get a lot of business ideas about how to do more business, how to gain more referrals, cultivate important relationships. And so for this one, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Lutron, who's David Weinstein is sitting right next to me. And from there, we're going to have David, we'll start with you. You can introduce yourself and what you do for Lutron, and we'll go down the line from there.
Sure. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're enjoying CEDIA Expo. My name is David Weinstein. I'm at Lutron. I'm responsible for really trying to develop our luxury residential business around our homeworks, our automated shades, and our emerging intelligent lighting solutions category.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. This is my first time being at CEDIA, and it's been incredible so far, meeting a lot of you and seeing all of the innovation and being with Lutron, who I absolutely love. I have an interior design firm out of Orange County, California, Newport Beach, and we work with a lot of different integrators, a lot of different partners, and we love collaborating. And I've been in the business for about 20-some years, extremely passionate and excited to be here.
Hi, I'm Glenn Johnson. My company is Adaptive Design Group. We are an architectural lighting design and engineering firm practicing 100% in the luxury home market nationwide. So we artistically illuminate homes. We do the control design and programming and electrical engineering. So it's a full service package. And we've do quite a bit of work and team with David Weinstein and Lutron, and been here at CEDIA a couple times, and I really enjoy talking to this audience because you're my people. We need you.
Exactly. The industry really needs to foster these relationships. We've been talking about them for several years now with CE Pro. I can't remember if I introduced myself. I'm Arlen Schweiger, editor of CE Pro magazine. And also, while we're here and thanking our sponsor, just want to make sure that, you all thank you very much for being here. And also, you can see everything in action at Lutron's booth, which is 3301. So a lot of the stuff we'll be talking about today, you could see it in action and why it is so important for integrators to work with interior designers, lighting designers, architects, getting involved very early in the process. And not only that, but developing these kind of relationships where you can really have a mutually beneficial partnership where you're sending referrals each other's way, and oftentimes getting clients, that wouldn't ordinarily be going to each other's potential service. And we know that lighting design, especially with the way fixtures has been really rapidly catching on in the industry, there's still many ways to approach that business. And a lot of it, in terms of the design, a lot of companies provide their own design services, but to really, get up to the luxury clients who are, they're very design heavy. They work with a lot of interior designers who integrators are probably going to be talking to more than the clients themselves, but just really building all those opportunities. So with that, David, let's start with you, because you guys just had your Lutron Excellence Awards banquet last night. I was actually fortunate enough to be a judge in the awards this year. I did not have this category as one of my judges, but the last couple of years, I've been told that the most popular category that you've had is for the projects where is the best collaboration with an interior designer, architect, or lighting designer. That's basically become the most popular category for integrators to submit their projects. So tell us, first of all, why you think that is and why the awards how the evolution of the awards have come to even include a category like that.
Sure. Thanks, Arlen. Well, you know, if you look historically, you have all the independent players taking care of the client, and historically they've kind of gone in parallel. So the luxury builder works with the client, the interior designer works with the client, the architects over here works with the client, the integrator works with the client, and more and more often lighting designers, and Glenn's going to talk about this, get involved with the client. But the analogy I'm going to give you, which still exists today, very often those, I call them collaboration community members, the client and everybody, it's more of a Shark Tank. You know, everybody's somewhat distrusting of one another, everybody's trying to get a leg up, everybody's trying to sell their value and rationalize on a budget, but unintentionally often they minimize the value other players delivered, so often bad feelings happen. And the analogy of a Shark Tank is everybody's kind of biting the fins off one another. There's a lot of blood in the pool. And frankly, the only person that gets harmed by that is the client, along with everybody else who ultimately are having a very dysfunctional relationship. What's evolving now and why that category is so important, when we can work together, the manufacturer, the interior designer, the lighting designer, the architect, the luxury builder, even the electrician who plays a role, and we get everybody working together and networking and understanding each of the roles, not when the project's bidding, but before the next project is even conceived. The end result is good communication, mutual respect for the value that each person on the, what Glenn calls the modern design team delivers. And then when it goes from design to actually quoting on the project, you're getting a better design solution that is going to be properly priced for the value they're delivering. At the end of the day, the client gets a great experience, and all the stakeholders realize they can work together cooperatively with enough margin in these luxury projects that everybody can be paid fairly for the value they deliver. So increasingly, when we can work to create these relationships together, and companies like Lutron are working hard at that, the better outcome is opportunities that everybody can benefit from.
Exactly, and we've written about that, and one of the trades that you didn't mention is that we know that for years, really when it comes to integrators and electricians, they don't like stepping on each other's toes, they don't like having their toes stepped on, but for years, those were the contractors who wired the house for the lighting. Of course, we know lighting has evolved mightily over the last decade, and this is where it's still a story that we cover. You know, as part of our lighting deep dive, every year we talk about, okay, how is that relationship going to work with electricians? So it's just another partnership that, when it does work, whether it's a good synergy of a partner between an integrator and an electrical contractor, or, as we've seen a lot happen recently, electricians being hired on by integrators, you know, that's definitely one of those relationships that needs to be ironed out, I think, as you're talking about. So, Laura, in terms of relationships, tell us how you said you've been involved in the design aspect for 20 years. When did the relationship with integrators start to become more important? How did you connect with them, and what's that like today on your projects?
Well, I feel as though we need integrators, and working together has always worked a lot better than trying to not work together, which is something, to be honest, I don't totally understand why we wouldn't work as a team, because on every project, it is all about the team. I mean, in the end, I'm not a cabinet maker. I'm not a lighting designer. I am not installing your tile. What I am doing is trying to create for every client a way for them to live their best life. And that means how you work, live, and play. It's a huge honor to get to help people live a better life. And with that, working with a team who I know is the best, working with integrators, working with Lutron, and getting to see all of the innovation and bring that to our clients is a huge honor. And it's very rewarding to see what happens at the end of a project and see our clients being so excited giving them something that they didn't know that they could have, that they didn't know existed. And there's a lot of things that I don't know that exist, right? We can go to the show and see a lot of cool things. But you guys are the ones who kind of come on board, and we work together as a team to really give something really unique. And as a designer, I believe that a lot of us, we are talking to our clients about, you know, really cool products, talking to them about shades, Palladium shades, which happen to be one of my favorite products, right, from Lutron for shade control. But when we bring in the right partners, we are getting something that's more unique, something sometimes it's different, and you guys are really helping us also sell the project, right? When we get everyone together, and then obviously working with a lighting designer like Glenn, it brings the project to a different level, because as much as I know about lighting design and going to school, learning about it, seeing it on projects, there's something about bringing a lighting designer on who actually knows top of the line, what's new, knows how to do all of the calculations. There's actually so much to it. And we need our partners. And if we're not working together, then the project is not going to be the project that it could be if we were working as a team. So,
Laura, can you tell us a bit about how you vet an integrator, for lack of a better word, and what are some of the things that they should come into this relationship asking you to make the relationship work more smoothly?
I love that question, because we're always getting better. And I think what I find a lot of the times is sometimes it starts with the architect. We work with certain architects who already have a lighting designer. We work with some architects, and there are actually many that don't have a lighting designer, which, to be honest, I find an opportunity. And I think it's an opportunity for all of you to work on relationships and talk to the architect, and let them know about the value and why it's beneficial to bring you onto a project. And I don't think I've ever talked to anyone who is against it, to be honest. I think if you're really passionate, which I believe everyone who is here probably is, because you're here, I believe take the time to reach out to some of the best architects that you know, and then go beyond that. Because to be honest, you should also go to the interior designer. I've had architects who come to me and they do have a lighting designer who they want to use. And then when we're talking to our clients, sometimes they go, absolutely not. I don't want a lighting designer. My builder said that I can just use a free electrician. I don't want to pay. I'm paying for an architect, I'm paying for the builder, I'm paying for the designer, and it gets costly. And we all know that the project, like, why are we going to cheat our client out of the best experience that they can have for, you know, a little bit of money? So I think that getting out there and educating is a huge thing, and don't just go to the architect. I think you need to, you know, go to your partners and talk and explain to us why you're so valuable, right? Why we should use you, why you are going to be the right partner on our job. And I believe that will change your business, to be honest. And that just happened to me last week with a lighting designer who reached out to me that we were not going to use, and now they're most likely going to be on our project.
Wow. Well, first of all, so we'll want to hear maybe a little bit more about that. But thank you for that segue into Glenn. Glenn, we'll go to your niche of the design community. Why should integrators go that extra step and hire a lighting designer beyond, you know, interior design and the builder or electrician, or just what integrators, you know, think they know already?
Thanks, Arlen, for that question. I'd like to step back just a little bit. David mentioned about a term that I've coined called the modern design team. And this is really important because the modern design team, everybody's agreed you need an architect and interior designer. On any luxury home, architect and interior designer are critical. Laura is critical to be part of that team. But what needs to be added to that is what I call the technical team, and that's the architectural lighting designer and the systems integrator, the CI channel. That's the team. And today's homes, it cannot be done any other way in order to have success, this has to happen. And it has to happen very early with the architect and the interior designer. So we want the architect and interior designer who are the first point of contacts with the owners. They're getting hired first. They're getting the face time. They need to start saying, you really need the technical team, because we're not experts in lighting or home theater or home networks or cybersecurity or everything else that goes together. This is very complex. So that's where our introduction comes in immediately, is through the architect and interior designer. And then in my practice, we bring in the integrators, because in most cases, the CI channel is not at the design table. You're normally coming in from a builder who calls you on the phone and says, hey, I'm doing a 4-way inspection in 2 weeks. The drywall is delivered. Come in and pre-wire the house. And you say, pre-wire to what? And they said, just do what you've done the last 6 houses, and then we'll figure it out later. Can we meet the owner? Nope. Just pre-wire the house. So that cannot happen. You cannot fake this anymore. And that's a real important thing to remember, is this cannot be faked. This technology, everything that we are providing on the tech team side with the interior designer and architect, has to be presented properly, educating the client face to face, and letting the client say, no, I don't want to go to that level, or yes, I love what Ketra has to offer. I don't know if I want to do it in 95% of the house, but let's pick up the 80% and do full controls. And so that education process really has to happen. And most importantly, the only way to have fun in our business today is to have that team. Architect, interior designer, architectural lighting designer. Now I say architectural lighting designer because there's a lot of lighting design people that will do a lighting layout. And I'm going to use my friend Hoken's term, there's a lot of people that do lighting layouts, but that's not architectural lighting design and engineering. You can go to any of the lighting manufacturers on the floor here and ask them, would you do a lighting layout for me? And they'll say, of course. And they'll write all their specs, but that's not lighting design. So very, very important. The collaboration is really crucial for architectural lighting designers like ourselves. There's others, maybe like a half a dozen around the US that specialize in this luxury market. But if we're all working together, this is fun, and your architectural lighting designer is not in the lighting supply business, and that's critical, because we don't ever want to take anything away from the build team and the integrators. We design, engineer, specify, work with a team, and give the clients exactly what they envisioned, but they haven't known how to get there. Sorry, Arlen, hope that wasn't too long.
No, we're okay with rambling. It's all right. This is all about education right here. What I wanted to do was to first have anyone in the audience, if you're on the integration side or if you're on the design side, do you work with interior designers? Do you work with integrators? First, a show of hands on interior design. Anyone? All right, and then out of those, and I know Hoken's answer to this, so I'll give him a plug. That's they're going to be our October cover profile for CE Pro, Beamer Smart Home. So in terms of lighting designers, then, who works with lighting designers? Very good. So actually, more than interior designers, which I think probably says a bit about where the category is going. Glenn, tell us a little bit about, you were talking about from the educational standpoint of part of why integrators should hire a lighting design pro. What about from the technical standpoint? And also, I think as you might have just started alluding to, from a cost standpoint, the amount of potential profit on a project going from your standard production quality lights to something like what we're seeing from Lutron and other companies in the industry?
A good example of that, Arlen, thank you for the question, is a project that we just completed with the systems integrator in Lake Tahoe. We had worked for about 1.5 years with the owners, with the architect and the interior designer. The architect recommended us. We worked with them for about 1.5 years, well before the plans were ever delivered to the builder and the subcontractor team. That's how it should be, because if an architect releases the so-called electrical plan, everyone in this room is in trouble, because there's zero budget and no information, and the client's blindsided by the fact that at one point somebody has to tell them that, oh, that electrical plan is a throwaway document, please don't build that. They never tell anybody that until the house gets starting to wire. So in any event, this Lake Tahoe house, so we finished the project, turned the plans over to the builder. The builder brought his integrator to the table, and the integrator said, I have never seen anything like this, the level of the professional documentation that we provide. We're like architects with lighting control, electrical engineering. It's a full set of package that goes out to bid. This electrical contractor also, and integrator, they were, as Arlen mentioned, some are teaming together. This group is both integrator and electrical contractor. They bid the project. This gentleman called me up and said, I've never seen anything like this, and you just delivered me a $800,000 lighting package, including shades and everything that we designed and engineered in. He said, I'm going to recommend you on every job, because I didn't do anything. Because again, we're not in the supply chain business. We are creating the environments along with the architect and interior designer, and to beautify these environments with hidden lighting sources and all this artistic ability and never distracting from. So that's just a real good story on how easy it is when you have a lighting professional who can educate the owners on what's the latest and greatest, let the owners decide on what's best for them and their budgets, and then we have fun.
Right, so Glenn, you certainly help integrators, again, with referral projects and winning projects, and really being able to seal the deal on that stuff. David, I want to turn back to you from the manufacturer standpoint. We talk a lot about, vendor support of integrators. We have our Quest for Quality Awards, which is all about service provided by manufacturers and distributor partners. When an integrator gets into this category, there are a lot of adjacent technologies that certainly Lutron knows very well and the integrators know very well, but if they're not thinking about it, how can they use not only just lighting control and lighting fixtures, but working with the specifier and then combining it with some other technologies that really work hand in hand?
Sure. So ultimately, the integrator's job is to deliver lifestyle enhancing experiences for the homeowner, enhance their life through technology in the most simple and intuitive way possible, and often working behind the scenes so the homeowner just enjoys what it does and doesn't have to worry about what it is and how to use it. What I want to talk about is, demand creation. You want to identify brands that understand the important relationship of the collaboration community or the modern design team. So brands that understand experiential marketing and sales, relationship building with interior designers, with architects, with lighting consultants, building that trust. And by the way, I will say the electrical contractor. One of the things that's very different about our lighting systems today is they're fully digitally addressable, they're wirelessly controlled. We specifically go to market with our intelligent lighting solutions only with integrators, but it's not really to poke the electrical contractor in the eye. We need to have the electrical contractor be part of it and work with and or for the integrator, because here's the other point I want to make. We're talking about a demographic of customer, and both of these, my guests here have them, who have the disposable income to be able to afford the things they want. And if you look at the cost per square foot of these homes they're building, more than ever, because of that huge increase over even the last 5 years, and by the way, they're willingly still writing checks to build their homes. What's very important to say to this group, do not commoditize technology. The incremental cost per square foot of a lighting control system, a shading system, a intelligent light system, a great audio video system, amazing networking, all the bells and whistles, outdoor lighting, outdoor landscape, the incremental cost per square foot based on the cost per square foot of the house, it's more affordable than ever. The problem is, and earlier we heard it, often without the knowledge and awareness and everybody playing in the Shark Tank, the client doesn't trust anybody, and they just, all of a sudden they say, everything you're talking about is too complicated, I don't want it. My point is, the way to do this is align yourself with a company who works with interior designers, who works with architects, who works with lighting designers, who works with electrical contractors, who works with engineers, for the common goal of creating a collaboration community and being that unified face to the client. When the client sees that trust, and they see the modern design team, as Glenn says, is working cooperatively, I know for a fact, they write the check, and everybody on that team gets their fair share of profit, which they deserve to get for the value they deliver. It is not about price in this business. It is not about we can't afford a lighting designer or an interior designer. That client has a disposable income that we're focusing on, and as long as they understand why they should be spending the money and who they should be working with, 9 out of 10 times they will do this.
Right, and ultimately that's where it all comes back down to, is client satisfaction, certainly. And Glenn, I think you were saying, and Laura, you were saying, to have everyone work collaboratively is going to be the best outcome for everyone involved, most importantly, the client. David, I'm not even sure you mentioned it, but certainly along with lighting control, one of the other key categories that Lutron is involved with, and one that, you know, I'd like to have Laura address this as well, but certainly, and again, in our October issue, for another plug for CE Pro, we have our motorized shades deep dive. And again, those technologies really should be working in tandem to provide, basically, an optimized solution for a customer that's also really slick aesthetically. So tell us a bit about, why it's so important to be educated on how, you can really boost projects by combining those things.
Sure, and I'll try to be brief because I really love to give that to Laura, because she could tell you why she specifies what she specifies, what kind of integrators she looks for to provide those solutions, and again, that confidence. But here's the thing. The automated window treatment business has exploded since Lutron, as an example. We launched our first digitally addressable tubular drive, a Savoia QED Rolla 100, in April of 2003 at CEDIA. It's the first time we did it, okay? Today, our shading systems business is much larger than our home systems business. It's still growing by double digit, and frankly, we're building 150,000 square foot, one of the most modern automated shading factories in the world in Virginia, just to try to keep up with the growth. So it's a huge category, but what do clients want? They want quiet, precise movement. They want the simple unification of their lighting, shading system in with their lighting control system. Again, a plug for my company. The HomeWorks system is the BMW M5 engine under the hood that connects to the shading digitally, that connects to the lighting control keypads digitally, that connects reliably to third-party integration protocols, and more importantly now, connects to our digitally addressable lighting system. So the message is, shading's become such an important category because once people experience quiet and precise and automated shading that might have scheduling, and once people experience amazing options in fabrics, shade styles, astronomic movement, glare control, they will never go back. I use the earliest analogy when I was early on in my career getting our shading business going. Think about the transition in cars from crank windows to power windows. You know, in the early days, only the most expensive luxury cars had power windows as an option. Then 2 years later, that was standard. And then the car companies would take their second level car down and make it an option. Well, you all know what's happened. Cars is the great, again, comparison. There's a whole suite of technology in cars today, automated windows, which to me is automated shading. 100% of the market gets them. But to your point, it's a huge opportunity. Laura, share your thoughts on shading, why it's important.
Well, shading is super important because obviously how we live in our space is important. So when you wake up in the morning, if you didn't have a window treatment, think about how horrible it would be waking up every morning. Maybe it's like 6 o'clock in the morning and you're like, I shouldn't be up yet. So you can now control how you feel when you do get up. And that's, we do double shades. We are able to do window treatments in people's home that make it so that they're living in their space so much better. And really, it's a product, right? Like everything that Lutron and what we've seen here, there's so many products. And what our job is to really amplify it and to show why we should use certain shades in a home. Like maybe I said palladium shades we love, but maybe that's not the right application. Maybe we're going to be hiding it in the ceiling. Maybe we don't need to use palladium shades. So our job is to understand what the products are and then educate clients on how to use them in the best ways. And sometimes that's working with our partners and going, hey, what's the new thing? Or how am I going to solve this solution? I have a really weird window. It's a really strange shape. And I have no idea how I'm going to cover it. Well, there's solutions. And if you don't have an answer, there's partners out there who are going to help you to figure that out. And that's why we have to work together because, you don't know what you don't know. So we sometimes have to reach out to partners and reach out to David, reach out to Glenn and say, hey, I have this issue and how can we better solve it? Because I'm not going to have every answer out there, but there's going to be people out there like you who will. So, yeah.
Laura, with the types of houses that you work with, and Glenn, maybe you can answer this as well. How many windows are you talking about when you consider the amount of volume that shades can address? And how many lighting loads are you talking about in just, say maybe an average, like a 3,000 square foot home versus, a sprawling 8,000 square foot home, something like that? What kinds of numbers are we dealing with here?
I'm going to let Glenn take this one. I feel like he's better with the numbers.
Okay. Yeah, on the shade component, again, also when we're all working together early, it's crucial because the architect and us have to design in those shade pockets. The sizes have to be framed in. They're not going to want to cut out everything later on to do a recessed shade lighting system or a shade system. So then you have to plant on, palladium. They've done a great job with surface mount palladium shades, Lutron has, but you want to build all that in early on, again, with the team. But the quantity of shades really depends because the first question has to be asked, where do you want automated shades to the owner, and how many shades? Are you going to have a blackout and sheer in the bedroom? That's 2 shades. That's a pretty significant pocket. Has to be detailed, has to be wired appropriately, has to be specified. They're great shade contractors, actually, just specialize in putting all the shades together. But on a 10,000 square foot house, there could be 60, 70 shades in the home, and obviously you need a load or 2 loads for every single shade.
Can I help with this?
Yeah, absolutely.
So the average home in North America, the average home, and by the way, when you get into the luxury segment, you're not anymore, but I'll just give you some rough math, spitball. There's 25 windows in the average home in North America, okay? But if you think about a home, what's your average square footage size home, Laura, that you're building?
I would say our average would be 6,000.
Yeah. Glenn, typical home size?
Oh, boy. I don't have a typical.
Okay. But anyway.
It's got to be similar based
all
on
of
our
you that
research.
have luxury-centric projects could be doing homes 6,000, 10,000, 20,000. If I asked any of you, have you ever done a home that big, you're going to say yes. So the reality is the average home in North America has 25 windows. Double it, luxury segment homes, most are well over double the size, okay? So that's 50 windows. Do dual shades, that's 100 shades, right? And here's the statistics. There's, on average, 1 million new homes built in the United States every year, plus or minus. I think it's up to 1.4 million now. All right, there's a little downward trend in the next couple of years, but let's say 1 million's a safe number. Let's say well over 10% of that falls in the luxury market segment. That's 100,000 homes. So, and let's say that the market penetration for automated shades, even in new homes, is still single digit, even though I know, I'll ask, how many integrators in this room do automated shades? Okay. What percentage of the jobs you do are 90% or more automated shades? Yeah, so more and more the whole house is going that way. Again, the analogy, imagine a car that has power windows in the driver's side, but all the rest to crank, it doesn't really make sense. So the opportunity to continue to grow the category, working with the design community, fabrics, mounting options, fascia, you know, the hardware for the mechanisms, even the keypads becomes an accessory to the shade. The opportunity to continue to convert people to digitally addressable shading, it's a marketplace in its infancy, but even with that, it's a significant part of this industry's revenue today.
Sure, and again, in our October issue of CE Pro, we've got our deep dive. It's got all of the annual statistics that we help the industry, you know, to really see how much it's increasing, and that talks about the amount of shades per project, the amount of rooms, because like Laura was saying, different applications, different rooms require different shades and all that. What I was gonna ask you, Laura, in terms of, well, we hear a lot about interior designers, things that they've loved about integrators to begin with is that they help declutter the wall acne when it comes to just the little, you know, boxes that are up there all the time, where integration projects consolidate it. Everything is together. What are you seeing in terms of, is that still an in-demand thing that you're hearing, and how have the latest solutions on the lighting and shade side of it really helped toward that end?
So like some of my favorite products when going, well, I would say one thing that is huge, I feel, are the actual lighting controls. So like the Elise keypad or Palladium keypads. And I think that is something that, in all honesty, the truth is I think everyone should have that in their house if they can. Because I don't know if you go into homes sometimes and you're just like, oh my God, there's 1 million light switches on a wall. Which one controls what? And I go into homes sometimes where maybe it's a remodel, so they have old lighting controls. And I can tell you I guess maybe you get used to the new lighting controls, right? Where we're elevating and we're getting so much more sophisticated. But it's really nice when you can leave someone's house, leave your own house, for us leaving a client's house, and press one button and go all off. And it's like, you know, backlit, it says all off. And you just hit a button and you can go on with your day. I love that you can, you know, be in a room, you're sitting there, you can control to have all of your shades go down at 9 o'clock, and you're sitting in the room, and all of a sudden the shades go down, you're like, oh, this is about the time I start going to bed. Or you're laying in bed and you need to get up in the morning, you have an early, you know, or just your normal daily work schedule, and your shades, they start rolling up slowly, they start waking you up, your blackout shades, and now you're not gonna sleep in because you have blackout and you're just like, I have no idea what time it is. So with the integrators and working with you guys, we're able to give our clients such a better way to live. And a lot of this, you know, we need to keep educating each other. A lot of this I didn't know, maybe it didn't even exist, I don't know, 20 years ago. It's all continued getting better and better and better, and you don't want to be left behind. I don't want to be left behind. I want to be forward, and I want to work with the best people out there who are going to work as a team with us to give, you know, our clients the best experience.
Glenn, piggybacking on that, when you're talking to clients about, you know, sort of what we call like a layered lighting approach that we hear from a lot of designers, and you're talking about different various banks of types of lighting in a certain room, where you could have 3 different types of lighting going on in a kitchen or a living room, because there are different activities going on in those rooms. how are you able to work with an integrator to make sure that the controls are really simplified and that what you want to do with your sophisticated designs translates still to a very simplified, user experience?
Well, first and foremost is educating the client on the user interface and the simplicity of the keypad control. It has to be very simple for grandma and the kids, and if you have to give an owner a manual when you leave the house on how to operate a touchscreen or a keypad, that's a problem, because you'll never be invited back again. So don't ever do that. But the most importantly, there's multiple layers of light in a home, and what I call the adaptive method revolves around 8 layers of light. And when a client understands that and sees that in a presentation and sees the house come together in a Zoom meeting, they understand for the first time ever the need for integrated dimming control. Because if you have a great room and you've got 8 layers of light, you don't want 8 keypads on the wall or toggle switches. You want a single keypad with a button press that's on, accent, next room over, raise lower. So make it real simple. And when you go through that process, and we go through that with integrators in a Zoom meeting with a client and an architect, I've never had an owner say, no, I don't want that. Just give me 4 cans and a fan and toggle switches everywhere. It's like, how come I didn't know about this sooner? I mean, the house is framed up, I've got a roof and windows on, I've got my subcontractors standing there right now, ready to install, and nobody said, we need a lighting designer, we need a systems integrator. I had an owner doing a presentation recently, and we were going through everything and all the technology, and he raised his hand. He said, Glenn, I've got one question for you, and this is really important for everybody in the room here in this industry. He said, and the architect was right there too, he said, what's an integrator? What's an integrator? Now they know audio, video, they know home theater, but they have this very sophisticated client too. What is an integrator? So we've got to fix the language somehow, but let's get that conversation going early up front with the design teams, and we can pull all this together. And again, I've never had an owner say, no, I don't want that. They want it. Maybe they're not going to hire us. They'll go somewhere else if they need, really lower cost. But they want it. Once they're educated, nobody needs it, right? But they want it when they understand it, because that improves their lifestyle. So make that keypad simple. Another thing, never let an owner move into a house with a keypad with no engraving and a paper on the wall taped up. Never do that to an owner. And I've seen houses change hands, sold, and that paper is still on the wall. And the new owner moving in, what is this? Don't do that. We're the experts. We design that keypad. We design what happens when you touch the button, the art and the technical side of it, and let the owner enjoy their house. Don't ever put that blank paper on.
Real quickly,
Yeah.
I just want to pull these 2 responses. The most important thing about keypads and controls, we call it ACE, and I know Laura will relate to this. A keypad has to have aesthetic appeal, so that's colors, finishes, textures, how it's lit, how it's engraved. It has to have cognition, so I need to be able to look at it and quickly understand what I'm going to do and why I should do it without getting complicated. And then it has to have ergonomic features, so that button pressure, that quietness, the consistency. So in the control side of everything they do here, you have to have aesthetics, cognition, and ergonomics. Think about that. That's something your client, by the way, and the design team understand. They don't want to know so much the voltage and the diameter in the installation, the rough-in. They may want to know that to put on the plans, but they want to know the conceptual, emotional reasons why people should use the product.
Yes, and that's a perfect point to finish up on. I think we covered a lot of ground today. Hopefully, everyone learned a little bit of something coming to this session. And with that, we'd like to thank you all again for coming here. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Lutron, David, Laura, and Glenn. Really appreciate it. And now we have some time left for some Q&As. If anyone wants one to stick out there, we got time for one to go up to the podium.
There you go.
I'm curious on the Lake Tahoe project you had mentioned. You gave the specs after it was all decided to an integrator. Was there a conversation? Hey, we need to get an integrator involved sooner in that project specifically.
All the conversations early on was with the owner on what's available, Ketra and other systems and things like that. So we kind of pre-sold all the products in the application to the owner. And yes, when I found out who the builder was, I asked him specifically who his integrator was, and I talked to them to find out if they were certified and technically adept to putting the project together, and they were.
So that just kind of leads to another question. Our roles as integrators, one of them is to procure and curate products to create a system that works. And there's a little bit of an overlap that you guys need some of that expertise, and that's a good example of that one that you mentioned. Did you specify all of the products in that system, and therefore the integrator just didn't have any decisions? He just had to go and create basically a quote based on product.
This is how unique our firm is. Because we don't supply any product, but we design and engineer everything, including 100% engineering the lighting control and the programming of those button presses. We can do that as a line item in our service. Client hired us for all those line items. So when we sent this off to the integrator, we gave them the 100% bill of materials for the Lutron. We gave them the Lutron program because we already had the homes, the ways, the pathways, everything was already predefined and pre-designed. So like I said, when we turned that 8-10 page package over, all those sheets, all of the specifications, all of the bill of materials, that's why he was, I've never seen this before. So it was very simple. And yes, we turn that program over, you upload it, you troubleshoot it. Again, all the scenes, everything is there. Now we have some very sophisticated integrators here that do their own programming, and we could give advice on that, and and then you get that fee for the programming. It's like with Hoken. I mean, that's what we're doing with Hoken on some projects.
Since there's nobody else.
But thank you very much for the questions. And thanks again, everyone, for being here.